Howdy guys, welcome to the wonderful world of beekeeping. So I have set up a pretty close to fully automatic redstone beekeeping device, and I want to show you how it's built and what it does and what not to do. So concept's pretty simple, that all the drops are getting picked up by the hopper mine carts. There's one below and one above. These are all kept with, in the inside, and you see that there's a bunch of full beehives on the sides, right behind the flowers. Quite a few bees in here. If you were building this on survival, it'd be very important that you be able to get the bees in there. So once you get 2 bees in there, we just grab a flower or a stack of flowers. I did make a way to breed the bees. There's just this little access door here, and the babies can't fly through this half-high gap, which is, I thought that they might be able to, but it looks like they can't. So that's good news. A full honey hive or beehive will give a 5 redstone dust comparator signal. So there's my comparator. I'm comparing through that block to the hive that's next to it, which is the one underneath of this rail here. And when this light is lit up, at least one of the hives is completely full. I did notice that the corner hives don't fill quite as fast. It seems like the ones in the center fill faster. So if that light's on, it's time to harvest. Like, for sure, you can harvest before that. Now, did it run into a couple issues? Let me show you kind of what's going on here. We've got sticky pistons attached to dispensers. The bottom dispensers have bottles in them. The top dispensers have shears. And because we have this redstone block line going down here, when we activate those pistons, so if we activate the bottom pistons, it'll push these dispensers up next to this redstone block and activate the dispensers, dispensing a honey bottle. If you dispense a honey bottle into a full beehive, it will pick up honey, a honey jar. The problem is that it will often go back into the dispenser instead of just making a drop with a minecart. So one way that you can counter that is to fill the dispenser completely up with glass bottles. As long as there's more than one in each slot, then you're good to go. If you filled it all the way up, you would theoretically be at the absolute minimum, be able to cycle the farm 63 times without having to fool with the, refilling the glass bottles. The glass bottles that get dispensed that don't, because the honey hive was not full, do come back down and around. So, there's no loss. You just have to go through and put them back in again, which is a bit of, like, the only bit of a pain on the entire farm. And we just have 2 redstone lines. So, Honeycomb activates, follow this redstone line here around to all of those pistons, sticky pistons that are pointed down. So it would push all of those dispensers down against the hives. And because I'm using a button, and because there's redstone blocks on the back, it will activate those dispensers into the hives. So that's Honeycomb. That's the ones with the shears. One with the bottles are the honey circuit, which is the bottom circuit, which goes all the way around to all those pistons as well. And, again, same idea. We'll push it up. Now, this is Bedrock. I don't think you can do this on Java, but it seems like Java, there's much smaller circuits for harvesting your beehives. Exuma seemed to have some decent videos on that a while back. All right, so this light is now lit. Comparator signal is 5, which means we can harvest. I did automate all this. These were my test runs over here, like trying to get a couple of different concepts to work. And what I realized was it's much better to have all your hives in a row instead of trying to do a circuit for one hive, because it gets pretty complex for just one hive. Whereas this way, at least I'm getting, everything kind of all in one place, and my collection system can be a whole lot smaller and cheaper. It's still not a super cheap system, but it's about as cheap as I can make it. So what would you rather do, honeycomb or honey? Let's go for honey. But all right, so you saw all those dispensers go up. I'm going to press it again. I know that it's going to make a bunch of glass bottles in the system, but it is what it is. That way you can see what's going on there. So they all raise up, and while they're raised up, they're against that redstone block, which the honey bottles get dispensed. Make sure the dispensers, not droppers, into those hives, and then everything's getting collected. In theory, I'm sure there's, because I did not fill up all the dispensers with bottles, just because it's such a pain on creative. Well, I guess it's even more of a pain on survival, but yeah, so we're getting a bunch that are in the system. How that must have been one left over from earlier. But like I said, if you fill those all the way up with glass bottles, you won't have that problem. You'll be able to cycle the farm at absolute minimum 63 times before you'd have to go through and oh, come on, sorry, did not mean to hit that horse, but wrong place at the wrong time. Come on, man, stay out of here. This is a a dangerous area to be in. There's lots to be in. We should have thrown some more bee jokes into this video, but I forgot. It's alright. Oh, also, yes, we have a giant bee back here. I don't know, pixel art's really not my thing, but I don't know, they look pretty decent. And this was for stray bees, the ones that got out while I was building this thing. So, I hope you get the concept. I mean, I guess I could do a step-by-step tutorial, but it's pretty simple in that you have a rail cart system underneath, to collect everything, because the honeycomb, when you harvest it, will kind of go everywhere. It'll pop in with the bees, so you need a hopper minecart to pick them up from underneath. Then you have your dirt layer with your flowers on it. Make sure the flowers are in place, and just 2 wide, and however long you want it. And then a minecart rail system, hopper minecart, to go around here for the occasional honeycomb that lands out in front, just like on that rail track, which a bunch will, so it's definitely worthwhile to have that. And then 4 hoppers that lead down to a chest, and then 1 more hopper underneath. There's probably a few cheaper ways to build this, like you can cut a few corners, like not having all that big track underneath, but it's not bad. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this all makes sense. Also, I omitted one of these piston pushers right here to have that access door, because there's no other place to have it. And getting that comparator line there was pretty tight as well. Like, you kind of have to think ahead to put that, otherwise your bees are going to escape if you try to put that in as a last minute thing. So just try to get, it'll compare through a solid block to a honey hive, or really anything. So just keep that in mind. You can go through 1 block, but if you tried to put it over here, that there's too much redstone stuff in the way, so it really needs to come out. That was the only logical place. Also, I suppose I could have made my collection system like at the opposite corner, but where do you really fit that in back here? Because like, this is the thing that operates everything. I guess I could have squeezed it in there and then just run the redstone out a little bit further, but I mean, it's a 14 block walk. Like, it's really not that big a thing. Also, and then you can make these beautiful blocks, for your flying machines and just for your aesthetics. I thought these blocks here would look great in like an old town, like the windows. They kind of had those old glass bottle windows. I don't know. There's lots of uses for that honeycomb block. What a pretty block. I'm really glad they added that to the game. The honey, I'm less impressed by. I mean, it seems I haven't found a use for it yet that slime doesn't do better. I know people are really happy with the honey block, but it's like, oh, and there's one other thing. You're supposed to be able to drink a honey bottle if the pillagers come through, and cancel, like, the raid. It doesn't work on Bedrock. It must be just a Java thing, because I heard about that, and then I was like, oh, cool. I, just killed some pillagers. I'll quick drink this honey. And I drank like 4 bottles, and yep, the raid came in, so that didn't work, And if anything, it seems like even milk buckets, man, you got to drink those fast, because if you're near a village, the raid's going to trigger pretty quickly. So it's like you got to be ready. I'm glad they fixed the milk bucket thing though, because they were just disappearing if you put them into your inventory. All right, like and subscribe and all that happy stuff. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to comment. And I hope this solves some of your honey needs, you know. Catch you later.